Imagine sitting with a friend who's telling you something they've been thinking about for a long time, something that feels urgent. That's the kind of space we're in right now. It's about an idea, a warning really, from a very complicated and controversial figure, Ted Kaczynski. Now, we're not here to talk about the man's actions, which were terrible, but to look at a core idea he expressed that might make you look at your phone, your laptop, the entire flow of modern life, a little differently. His warning was simple. Technology isn't just a tool we use. Step by step, it's beginning to use us. It's shaping how we think, what we want, and even what we believe is possible. You probably recognize that stubborn feeling of being right, that inner certainty that your perspective is the correct one. It's a comfortable feeling, like a favorite chair you've settled into. We all have it. Now think about this. Remember when you were a kid and you believed something completely, only to have that belief shattered later? Maybe you were absolutely sure there was a monster in the closet, only to eventually realize it was just a shadow from a streetlight. Or perhaps you held on to a political or social belief because everyone around you did, only to have a personal experience that made you question it. That moment of realization, that subtle crack in your understanding, is a tiny glimpse into a much bigger idea. Kaczynski argued that our entire society is caught in a similar kind of illusion, but on a massive scale. We're surrounded by so much technology and so many systems that we've stopped questioning their ultimate purpose and their effect on us. He believed that these systems aren't neutral. They actively guide our thoughts and desires to serve their own need to grow and expand. He put it directly, writing, "The system does not and cannot exist to satisfy human needs. Instead, it is human behavior that has to be modified to fit the needs of the system." Let that sink in for a moment. It's not about what you need, it's about what the system needs from you. This is where a natural tension comes in, a kind of internal tug of war we all experience. On one side is our instinctive, automatic thinking. This is the part of you that gets a little hit of dopamine from a notification, that feels a pull to scroll just a bit longer, that accepts the convenience of a recommended playlist or a curated newsfeed without a second thought. It's easy, it's familiar, and it doesn't require much energy. It's the part that wants to stay in that comfortable chair of certainty. But there's another side, a deeper awareness. This is the feeling you get sometimes when you put the phone down after an hour of scrolling and feel a strange emptiness. It's the subtle unease when you realize an app seems to know a little too much about what you want to buy. It's the longing for a conversation that isn't interrupted by a buzz in your pocket. This deeper awareness is quieter than our instincts, but it's there. It asks simple, profound questions. Is this making me happy? Is this giving me a better life? Or am I just serving a process I don't fully understand? Many of us cling to familiar ideas because they give us a sense of stability in a chaotic world. It's far easier to accept that new technology is simply progress, that it's all making things better, than to sit with the uncomfortable question of what we might be losing in the exchange. We tell ourselves we're in control. We're the ones choosing to click, to watch, to buy. But what if the menu of choices itself is being designed for us, carefully crafted to keep us engaged and productive for the system? What if we're fooling ourselves into thinking we're the users when we are increasingly being used? This isn't about guilt or suggesting we all go live in the woods. It's about awareness. It's about noticing that tension between the impulse to check your phone and the deeper desire to be present. It's about questioning the path of least resistance. Every time you feel that internal nudge to do something because it's easy or expected, that's the moment to tap into that deeper awareness. Ask yourself, who does this really serve? The answer isn't always sinister, but the practice of asking is the first step toward genuine freedom of thought. It's about reclaiming a little bit of your mind from the constant pull of the system's needs. This cracks open the entire argument and forces us to look at our own lives through a new, unsettling lens. We start noticing the sheer volume of automatic responses we have every single day. It begins with the simple, almost innocent phase of our relationship with technology. We see our devices as simple tools, convenient extensions of our will. A phone is for calling, a computer is for work, a social media platform is for staying in touch. The world feels manageable, and our use of these tools feels entirely voluntary, a series of conscious choices we make to improve our day. We are the users, and the technology is the used. This is where we all begin. Seeing the digital landscape as a neutral territory, we navigate with full autonomy. But then, inevitably, we enter the confusing middle. This is the phase where things get deeply complicated and the feeling of control begins to subtly slip away. You might be someone who resists change at first, dismissing these feelings as mere nostalgia or a personal failing to keep up. But soon, the evidence becomes too persistent to ignore. The algorithms that once felt helpful now feel manipulative, curating not just what we see, but how we feel about it. Our news feeds become echo chambers, our shopping suggestions read our minds, and our moods become tied to notifications and likes. Most of us feel uneasy during transitions, and this is the mother of all transitions. Ted Kaczynski argued that modern technologies are not merely tools, but systems that create a new social order, one that restructures human life to fit the needs of the system itself, not the individual. The challenge he outlined is that we are compelled to adapt to these systems for sheer survival and social acceptance, and in doing so, we surrender our own goals and replace them with the goals the system imposes upon us. The middle phase is this constant, low-grade friction between the person you thought you were and the person the system needs you to be. This is where the critical divide happens, the core contrast Kaczynski highlighted between knee-jerk reactions and thoughtful, autonomous responses. The knee-jerk reaction is the system's preferred outcome. It is the quick, emotional reply to a provocative post, the impulsive buy driven by a perfectly timed ad, the endless scroll fueled by a fear of missing out. It is behavior dictated by external triggers. You may catch yourself pausing before reacting lately, and that moment of hesitation is everything. That tiny space is where the possibility of a thoughtful response lives. A thoughtful response is not necessarily a Luddite rejection of all tech. It is any action that originates from your own conscious will, your own reasoning, and your own deeply held values, rather than from a programmed stimulus. It is choosing to read a book instead of watching recommended videos. It is deciding to have a face-to-face conversation instead of a text thread. It is critically questioning why a certain piece of content makes you so angry or so envious. Gradually, this practice leads to the new clarity. It is not about achieving a state of perfect technology-free purity, but about reclaiming a sense of agency within a technological world. The confusion of the middle phase starts to lift, because you have developed a new framework for understanding your interactions. You begin to see the digital architecture not as a neutral space, but as an environment designed for specific outcomes. And with that sight, you can navigate it with intention. You can use a mapping app without feeling rushed by its estimated time of arrival. You can enjoy a piece of music without immediately being funneled into a generated playlist. The goal is to make technology serve you again, rather than you serving it. This clarity brings a profound sense of calm and authenticity, because your actions are once again aligned with your true self, not with the engineered impulses of a system. We start to rebuild a life where our tools are in the background and our humanity is firmly in the foreground. Through this discomfort, we begin to see the faint outline of a new path. It's not a path that's been clearly marked for us by society or by the expectations we've carried for so long. This one we have to feel out for ourselves, step by tentative step. Learning to trust a different kind of compass, one that points inward rather than following the external signals we've been conditioned to obey. This part of the journey is often the quietest, and for a while, it might feel like we're walking in place. The initial burst of energy that comes from realizing something is wrong begins to fade, and we're left with the mundane, sometimes frustrating work of figuring out what comes next. It's in this space that we might start to notice subtle shifts, small changes in our reactions to the world that hint at a deeper transformation underway. You'll likely find daily decisions coming easier, not because life has become simpler, but because the static of outside opinion begins to fade into the background. That constant, low-grade anxiety about choosing the right thing, the thing that will look best, or be most approved of, or fit the narrative we've been sold, starts to lose its power. The choices become quieter, more personal. What do I actually want to eat for lunch? What book would genuinely interest me? Do I want to go out tonight? Or would I truly prefer a quiet evening alone? These are tiny things, but they are the fundamental practice ground for a new way of being. Each small, authentic choice is a repudiation of the performed self, a quiet vote for the person you are beneath the layers of expectation. This is where we often bump into the Barnum effect in reverse. For so long, we accepted vague, universal descriptions as being uniquely true for us, happily fitting ourselves into the boxes we were handed. Now, we start to see that mechanism for what it is and begin the process of disengaging from it. The horoscope that seems so eerily accurate now feels like a clever trick. The personality quiz that labeled us now feels limiting, not illuminating. We start to reject the generic and seek the specific. This isn't an angry rejection, but a gentle turning away, like setting down a book we realize we've already read. We begin to understand that our true self isn't a type or a category to be diagnosed and filed away. It's a complex, ever-changing, and beautifully messy work in progress. Many notice old frustrations don't bother them as much. The traffic jam, the long line, the spilled coffee, these things still happen, of course, but they land differently. They don't trigger the same cascade of internal drama, because our sense of self is less tied to everything going perfectly, according to a plan we never consciously made. The performance is over. There's no audience to appease with a display of frustration. There's just us, in a moment of inconvenience, dealing with it and then moving on. This gradual softening of the world's sharp edges allows us to finally turn and look at the structure we've been living inside. We see the walls we thought were the horizon. We examine the blueprints we were given at birth, the checklist for a successful life. Achieve, acquire, ascend. And we can finally ask, with genuine curiosity, who wrote this? And is this the story I want to live? This isn't a call to burn it all down, but to consciously choose which parts, if any, still serve the authentic self we are rediscovering. Perhaps the desire for a loving family is truly yours. Maybe the drive to create meaningful work is an intrinsic part of you. But the compulsive need to show off that family or monetize that work until the joy is gone, that's the old programming. We learn to disentangle the real from the imposed. This process of examination is what leads to the new understanding. It's not a single, thunderous moment of clarity, but a dawning realization that accumulates like the morning light. We understand that much of our suffering wasn't a personal failing, but a logical response to living a life that was out of alignment. We weren't broken. We were just wearing a suit that didn't fit, trying to walk in shoes that were the wrong size, and blaming our feet for the pain. The new understanding is that we are allowed to take the suit off. We are permitted to go barefoot. The rules we thought were ironclad were often just suggestions, and the penalties for breaking them were mostly social. The fear of judgment, the sting of disapproval. Once we stop fearing those things, the rules lose their power over us. This is where we find a strange kinship with unexpected thinkers, even those whose conclusions we would never endorse. The Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, was tragically and monstrously wrong in his methods, but his manifesto pinpointed a central anxiety of the modern age with chilling accuracy. He argued that technological progress and the demands of the societal system it created had not liberated humanity, but had instead placed it in a cage of its own making, forcing us to suppress our innate needs for autonomy, competence, and real-world connection. His key insight was that true freedom isn't about adding more to our lives from within this system, but about the profound release of stepping outside of its distorting pressures altogether. He described it as a feeling of liberation that is physical and palpable, like finally taking off a pair of shoes that never quite fit. After years of wearing them, you've forgotten what it's like to walk without a constant, nagging pain. You've even come to accept the blisters and the limp as a normal part of existence. Taking them off is more than just comfort. It's the shocking remembrance of what your own feet feel like, the rediscovery of the natural ground beneath you, and the exhilarating realization that you can now walk in any direction you choose, unencumbered. Together, we discover that this is our journey. It's the process of stopping, sitting down, and untying those ill-fitting shoes. It's wiggling our toes and feeling the grass, and deciding that from now on, we will only walk in ways that feel true and right for us. It's a return to ourselves. And from this place of alignment, the world doesn't feel like a series of obstacles to be overcome or a game to be won. It feels like a home to be experienced. Our relationships become more genuine because we are no longer performing for each other. Our work becomes more meaningful because it is an expression of our true interests and values, not just a means to an end. Our days feel richer because we are present in them, not constantly hustling for a future that was promised to us by someone else. This is the uplifting truth that awaits on the other side of discomfort. It's not that life becomes perfect or free from challenge. It's that we become more whole, more resilient, and more capable of meeting those challenges from a place of inner strength, not external validation. We are no longer actors reading from a script, but authors writing our own story, one authentic choice at a time. The journey is nothing less than the reclamation of our own humanity, a quiet homecoming to the person we were always meant to be. And that is a discovery worth making, no matter how long it takes, or how uncomfortable the path may feel at first. We find that our capacity for joy expands, our ability to handle difficulty strengthens, and our connection to the simple, beautiful fact of being alive deepens in a way we could never have imagined when we were still trying to wear those shoes.